What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. John Eli Lopez here, and today I'll be showing y'all how to take public domain images or images that's not even in the public domain, flip them and make them your own in a style inspired by the Great Shepherd Theory, but minus the cutting and pasting. We'll be utilizing Photoshop. But before we get started, remember, guys, smack that like button, leave a comment, click and subscribe. Any feedback will be appreciated. All right, guys, we're gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna show you guys how you can take an image that's for commercial use or non-commercial use and add that vector style to it where it doesn't even really matter. It becomes your image now, right? I'm gonna show you all this site here, Pixabay. I'm gonna have the link in the description. This is a site that's basically public domain images, but when you click on the images, it tells you on the side. So you wanna always check that, right? So today I decided I am going to go with cute dogs. Can never go wrong with cute dogs, all right? And this is the image that I landed on. For Pixabay, you need to create an account, right? And then you can download any image you want to, right? And you see it says here, Pixabay license, free for commercial use, no attribution required, right? So you want to check over here when you click on the image. So I'm gonna use one dog here, right? The largest dog here. I don't know what type of dog that is, but if you do, drop me a line in the description, all right? So I brought the dogs here into Photoshop, and if you know Photoshop, you can use the lasso tool or the magic wand, right? So I first isolate the dog that I want. And inverse, it's always good to duplicate the image that you brought in. Just in case you mess up, you can always go back and get the original, right? So I'm not gonna go through all the steps. That's for another video, but this is where your drawing skills will come into play, is right here where you have to kind of create the leg for the dog, right? And for the use that I'm using, and for the purposes that I'm going to be using this photo, remember, it does not have to be perfect, but that's something you have to do on your own. So remember, when you are bringing in certain images or editing the image, your creative skills still would have to come into play. And for anything with fur and hair, I would suggest using the magic wand tool, because that would still leave that little bushy effect right there. So you don't have to, something with fur, you don't want straight lines, right? All right, so once you get it to your liking, this is the final result of that. The image size is 2300 pixels wide and 300 resolution. Not the largest, but enough to get, some good detail. Okay, so before I create the mask, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna take the smudge tool, and it does not have to be perfect, but just add in a little rough edge here so it's not perfectly smooth. So you gotta remember little details like that. You don't want it to just mess the whole look up, where you have fur on every angle of the dog but one leg, right? All right, once you're happy with that, then we're just gonna create the layer mask, right? And I just wanna show you guys something about the layer mask. And as you can see, you wanna check that for, depending on the image you're doing, make sure it's clean. Okay, and this is all about the layers you create, colors on top, adjusting those colors, and bringing it to your liking, right? First, we're gonna start with adjustment fill layer, and that will be a hue and saturation layer. We're gonna turn the saturation all the way down. Next will be a solid color layer. And for these purposes, it doesn't really matter what color you go with, because you can always come back and edit it. Now you're gonna come here to the effects and set it to hard mix. And as you see, it instantly gives your dog or your image some flavor. And the blending mode is more of like a tool that you can always come here and mess around with type of the color direction you want to go in. All right. And of course you see it's endless. And this layer we'll be more than likely be coming back to. This is a very important layer. And no matter what color you choose, you're always left with at least 4 different values, and that will be black, white, some midtones. All right, I think I'm gonna stay in that zone right there. And you can change the values. Now here we're gonna come with black and white adjustment layers. And okay, leave the 40, yellow 60, green 40. I'm gonna move the blue up to 40 and the magenta to 60. Yeah, and you might have noticed that, the magenta, the blue, it's the same colors that the hard mix layer was using. Next layer is gradient map. Okay, as I create the gradient map layer, I double click here. Add some preset colors here that I set up earlier, which is the white is on 0. I added a violet here. That's the location is about 40%, and magenta about 60%. And this is something you could come in and try to create your own percentages. And see what you like. I think I'm gonna stick in this lane here. And that maps exactly onto your darker midtones. And these are exact percentages, so you do get a nice replacement of the color. Okay, now I'm gonna go back down here and I'm gonna come here and convert this into a smart object. You don't have to, but it just makes everything easier. All right, and the one filter we're gonna really use right now to take us over the top is the oil paint filter. And as you see, instantly, it takes out the detail, all right? So now we're gonna move this down to about 5% here, stylization, and 5% of cleanliness. Click OK. Another adjustment we want to use here is shadows and highlights. Try to bring some of those back up, and the amount for shadows, move this up to about 65. And highlights, 25 is good, 25, that's decent. All right, now we're gonna duplicate this layer, and I'm just gonna go crazy with the oil paint. Control Command F, and now we're gonna turn this up, and as you're gonna see, you're gonna start losing. Now it's really losing a lot of intricate detail. But we're gonna add about 7 layers of oil paint. Remember, this is now we get into the end where it's turning into personal preference. You know, you might be good with 5. I'm doing 7 just to take it over the top. Yes, and the oil paint understands the contours of your image. Now the image is real simplified. Okay, let's lower these. So what you can do now is create a layer mask. Make sure it's on black, not white. And you get a soft brush. See the brush settings, as long as it's not too hard. And as you see, you lost a lot of the detail here as far as the fur. But then you could come back with the brush and kind of mask out some of the areas you want to bring back in some detail. And this is where it starts getting to that personal preference. Now I'm gonna reopen that gradient layer. Let's go back to the preset, see if any looks different. And you could change up colors now. You can really just mess around and see what's the zone, the range you want it to be in, right? Some of that red going in there. So it's like, as you see, your choices are endless here, but I'm gonna go back with what I was started with here. And now you could double click here on the solid color. And as you see, you can still come back here and get some more detail in or less, depending on the range you want to go. So it's really about the layers and what you added to it. And your personal preference. I'm kind of liking the black in there, and I'm liking the ones without the black, really. And that's where you can get lost in, you know, trying to figure out exactly which one looks better, because sometimes you come across. Okay, let's go with that. I like the eyes sticking out, so we'll just stick with that right there for now. Let's get some of that fur going in there. And you just want to experiment a bit. And you can keep messing around till you're happy. I created a new layer here, and that's just for a little highlight on the eyes. Remember, anything under these 4 layers will be limited to the 4 color values. So even if I bring another tone in there, it still should fall. So say even if I change this color to yellow, a tone that's not in there, it should still come out as one of those other tones. There you go. Even though it's yellow, it's still falling under the 4 tones that I had originally. So just remember that. Don't drive yourself crazy like, hey, why am I on a color but it's not coming out? Because it's following the top 3 layers. You added effects and adjustments too. So just remember that. This is a cool little technique to play around with. When you're happy with it, you can merge all the layers. Select inverse, delete the background. And now, this image that you originally took from a site, you've made your own. All right, guys, I hope you got some value from this video. So until next time, y'all be good and be safe. Peace.